Hello, and sketch time, another video. This is my first attempt at the Hungarian composer Franz Liszt. That's not captured him at all, but it's an interesting exercise in getting the physiology, the shadows, and bone structure, the way the jacket lays, the shadows, all these little details that sort of make up the picture. So from Franz Liszt to Fanny Mendelssohn, sister of Felix Mendelssohn, Scottish connection there. He wrote the Hebrides Overture, rather a fascinating piece of music. Anyway, I was not happy with the end result of this picture. It doesn't look anything like. So we put into practice and we practice. So this is more like the sort of appearance that she should have, copying from a painting, which it's like too severe, it's too wide here, it's just not right. Not happy with the end result of that one, but it's still interesting exercise. So from Fanny Mendelssohn we went on to do Beethoven's hands. I thought I'd have a go at drawing hands. Apparently they're tricky to do. I started adding cuffs, extending the picture, and sort of the start of piano keys. I may even sort of put the top of his head. We shall see, haven't decided. Anyway, so Franz Liszt Mark II. I feel I've captured more of his sort of look in this one. There is a point to all this that's beyond just showing off sketches. As I've said, just look at the external and how that relates to the internal. So, for example, how do you recognise people? You get to meet them, and then you remember their face. And then next time you see them, you're more likely to remember them again, and even remember their name. So what if we internalise that? So unfortunately with this mobile device, I don't seem to be able to switch cameras, because I sort of wanted to appear on camera, but in a way I sort of have, as I'll explain. See, my sort of taking Franz Liszt as an example and using this caricature of Franz Liszt. He's my sort of benevolent showman, as it were. So that's sort of my internal aspect. That is what I have done. I have called it Franz Liszt, and when that emotion pops up, I've now applied a face, an expression, and I can sort of recognise it within myself. Again, it's a sort of interesting exercise, getting the shadow areas right and things. It's very much a case of less is best, and then with these watercolour pencils you can sort of soften the tone and things as well, and it sort of brings it more to life. Where are we going with this? There is a point to this. So just keep all this in mind. Actually, it's quite a good picture to illustrate it. Here you've got a dome, or an arc, you could say, sort of naturally formed by the hairline, and you've got obviously the shape of the skull. So thinking in terms of arcs, and like the Noah and the flood, and taking things in 2 by 2, or that you take in through the eyes. And you think about it with the pupils. If there's less light, the pupils will expand to take in more where the light is less. So this will all sort of come together. This is sort of prompted by a comment to a video I made about where do we go from here, and thank you, Valies. You sort of, it's your fault. You've prompted this video. So it's a nice little excuse to combine two things. I think that's the last sketch we've done in here, or for now, yeah. Anyway, so I think I externalize and internalize and weigh things up, and I think it may have been something in the region of maybe 20-25 years ago. I read a book. It was a paperback, blue cover with silver writing on it, and the title, if I remember rightly, was Gods of the New Millennium. The author was Alan E. I've forgotten his last name. Alford. Alan E. Alford was the author, and talks about the Anunnaki, Enki, Enlil, using the Sitchin fantastical sort of timelines and things. But the bit that sort of popped back into my mind was when he was in this book talking about the Great Pyramid of Giza and its measurements being accurate beyond what builders can do today. So when we're talking about building a straight wall, it's accurate to what is called arc minutes. And I thought, why has that popped back into my head today? It's almost synchronized thoughts here, because as I was pondering this and weighing these things up, that's when I got the comment from Valies on a previous video, and I thought, well, yeah, now's the time to address it. So I thought, yeah, arcs, time. Let's have a think about this. No need to introduce this little fellow. But Ken Wheeler, if you want to know about anything about magnets, then Ken Wheeler is the guy to listen to on his Theora Apotheosis channel. But let's take this into the metaphysical a little bit further. One of the questions sort of raised on my previous video is, where do we go from here, and like, where are we now? Well, I've had glimpses. Now, I do not know whether it's still within this reality or outside of it. I haven't had... You don't get a linear journey like you do in the physical material world. You're instantly there. There's no time or space. You're just, in an instant, you're there. But I was thinking about, we come from source, so that's your dielectric that runs through. No cruelty to apples on this video, so we're not going to be cutting it in half, but you know what the hourglass core, the core of us, the chorus, looks like inside it. And of course, then you've got the toroidal field. So the magnetism side is the explosion, as it were. If we use like you've got the potential with the core that runs through the middle, the hourglass, and then you've got the toroidal field that sort of radiates out all the way around that centre. And of course, if you think about this in terms of expanded consciousness, and think about this in terms of the arc, and how the eye will expand to take in more when there's less light, we're heading towards the unknown, the unseen, where no one's seen it. So how light or how dark is it going to be? We're going to have to open our eyes wide, as it were, our spiritual eye, our mind's eye. But if you look at the magnetism side, the toroidal field, you've got a curve. Now, I wonder that saying about flattening the curve. Maybe this has another meaning to it. I mean, the arc, which is basically what you've got here. You've got an arc shape going all the way from this center point, and it creates like an arc. And then obviously goes back into the underside of the core again. Or in the case of magnetism, it goes to the middle, and you've got an earthing plane through the middle of it with these toroidal fields. So anyway, so if we think about this arc, like arc minutes, so we're talking about time in the linear sense. So if you see this as where you first began, where you first came into this world, now see this as life, growth. So if we expand our consciousness, therefore we expand the sort of diameter of this arc. I'd say most of us are sort of around about here. It's like heading back in, heading towards the inevitable, which is that doorway called death. But obviously here for a purpose, and that would be to be experienced, and just like from that potential of the seed inside of one of these things produces this via the tree, of course, and perpetuates in this physical reality. So if we expand our consciousness, we expand the arc. I mean, what is the limits of your imagination? How big do you want to make the arc? That, I would say, is down to personal choice, down to free will, what sort of experience you want to have. And you have the power within you to change your experience. It's no good crying to anybody else about, this has happened to me. Well, it's happened to you because you've created it, whether you like to hear it or not. So I'm as much, I'm talking to myself as much as anything here with this one. But we do what we do, and we are where we are, and we make the best of it, and we turn it to advantage, because we can create our reality. Just like with the drawings, if you're not happy first time round, as it were, you just keep going round and round. You keep practicing until it becomes second nature. Likewise with the consciousness, you expand it, you create a bigger toroidal field, a bigger informed field around you. So you're now leveling out the curve, as it were. I mean, if you were to expand, if you were to increase this apple, say 20 times in size, you're going to get a much bigger curve. And if that's like a timeline of life, so when you get to sort of middle age, you start that downward slope, as it were, with the physical body. But you've got a huge, great arc, an arc of time. So if you expand your consciousness, and of course the conditions of this realm change, they're more conducive to longer lives, I'm sure you will have a choice at some point whether you want to remain in the current avatar or start again, because it's just like the toroidal field, it will go back in again, back to source. And I would say the outside of this construct, this dimension, whatever the life experiences you get on how big an arc you have, and what you take in and what you take back in, is then goes on to something beyond the beyondness that's outside. The only little glimpse I've had is like a little spiky ball, like a sort of plasma crystal, as it were, I suppose is the easiest way I could describe it. would seem to have a consciousness, and it's placed into these avatars, these bodysuits, these virtual bodysuits called human bodies. Because let's face it, if it's all atoms, it's all frequency, everything is measured in frequency within different ranges, whether it be light or sound, it's all disturbance of the ether in different spectrums. And of course, some of these spectrums you can't see with the physical eyes, you can only see them with the mind's eye. And so, yeah, if you expand your consciousness, but of course, you've got to do the core work first. And deliberate pun, the core, the center, the thing to get right is the seed. And when I say the seed, I'm taking this human experience up to where you start taking this journey on your spiritual path, consciously and knowingly decide to do it. Now you're at this point, and this is where you need to do, just like this apple goes, you need to do the inner work on the core of us, the core of ourselves, the bit that's right in the middle. Get to the heart of the matter, get to the root of the problem, as it were, different expressions of the same thing, and do that inner work, do that shadow work, do the language lessons of the heart. Michael Harrell on YouTube, or go to Julia's Simplicity Revealed. She's got a playlist there with Michael Harrell's workshops and things. That is something that is a critical foundation to do the core work, because it will make this part a far more beautiful experience, a far more rewarding experience, a far more well-rounded experience, you could say. I mean, many in this reality seem to end up well-rounded, but that's through poor diet and the inability to expel the waste, which just builds up primarily around the waste. Isn't it funny how these words have the same sound but a different spell and referring to different things? Or do they? They seem to all allude to the same thing, as far as I can see. So yeah, the humble apple, the knowledge of good and evil. Because obviously, if you are this core and then this source, and then you come out, you've got free will to go in any direction. It's not a particularly great analogy, I know, but you could take it as a two-dimensional, so you can say positive and negative, but life always looks far more complex, and that's by design, because it wouldn't be much of a game unless it was a challenge. And the challenge is to find yourself, and in finding yourself, you'll find out where you are, on that arc. And am I right? Well, I think you'll find that time will tell. So hopefully that sort of at least paved the way for you to sort of explore any of these things further. But you know where to look. It's inside yourself. Go to your core, and from which all things are possible, from an orchard to thousands upon thousands of apples. And it's incredible where it all comes from if you think about it. But it's the same pattern with these human avatars. Your spirit is basically the seed, and then you grow, and then you can turn out. This one's getting a bit old, it's getting a bit wrinkly. I really need to eat this, but I'm not doing that on camera. No harm was caused to this apple in the making of this film. Yeah, so I'm waffling now. So we're now coming up to 20 minutes. That's plenty far enough. So yeah, just have a think about your core values, your moral compass. Are you coming from the heart space? Have you done all the, I say, have you done all, do we really know? Have we all done all the inner work? I feel there's always more to do, and that's what makes it fun. I mean, it's a beautiful experience, and we're a presence, and it's always about being present and how you present yourself as a presence in the present without apprehension. Have no fear. Lose all fear, lose all doubt. One door open closes, another one opens. So you close the door on doubt and fear. It opens up a wonderful new perspective to look on this reality and enjoy the being on the ark, as it were, on this voyage of discovery. Funny, there's an apple called the Discovery as well. Right, I think we'll leave that there. We'll be pipped at the timepost otherwise. Oh, that was a dreadful pun, I know. So love to you all, and have a super, super day, and do good when you can, as Julie would say, always help others when you can. Try and bring a bit of illumination into their world, help them to see things in a different perspective if they're willing to do so, of course, because they have to be open to new possibilities. That's how we expand and grow, is being open to new possibilities, new experiences. So I will say ta-ta for now.